Hey guys, this is Mike, and in today's video I wanted to take a second to show you something that's actually been requested by one of the viewers. And I want to use this video as an opportunity to let you know if you are watching any of my videos, either on YouTube or in other places, please let me know if you want to see something about Logos or see something about Bible study or perhaps even another software platform. I'd love to create a video and create content for you to help you in your Bible study and to use these technologies more effectively to accomplish what you want to do. So sit back and relax, and let's dive right in today. So I mentioned that today's topic was based upon a request by one of the viewers of my video series. And the particular series that he was watching was my series on syntax searching using Logos Bible software. So you can actually find a link to that series on your screen right now up in the top right hand corner, the little eye icon there. Click that, find a link. Anyways, so the question was, okay, Mike, you've shown us how to do syntax searching in Logos Bible software in both Hebrew and Greek. Now the question is, what happens if I don't really know a lot about how to start this process? How do I even know what would make a good syntax search? So today I'm going to show you a little bit about how you can use Logos, even if you're not quite as familiar with the Hebrew and Greek, how you can use Logos Bible software to actually discover syntactically significant passages and constructions that will aid you in the process of saying, is this worth building a syntax search? So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually have our Bibles open. Now, if we're studying Hebrew and Greek, we probably are going to want to have a Hebrew and Greek Bible open. And then if you're not quite as proficient in Hebrew or Greek to be able to work with them on their own, have an English Bible open as well. So I'm going to go ahead and open the English Standard Version of the ESV from my English Bible, and then I'm going to drag a Hebrew Bible and a Greek Bible down as well in my layout. Now, of course, this will be really helpful. We're going to want to link these together. So I'm going to put all of my Bibles into link set A so that way they'll scroll with one another. Obviously, if I'm in the Hebrew Bible, and you'll notice my Greek Bible actually switched over to the Hebrew when I linked it because I created a custom series here, and I can go into another video on that. So for the purposes of this video, I'm only going to use one panel for my Hebrew and Greek Bible because I have a series. So whether I'm in the Greek New Testament or the Hebrew Old Testament, whenever I link that with an English Bible, it'll automatically switch to one or the other. And then from here, notice that I'm in Isaiah 34:13. This is actually a verse that I've referenced in one of my other syntax searching videos because there's something that's occurring here that I ran a search on. And the thing occurring here is what's called forward ellipsis. That's when actually one clause or the preceding clause contains a verbal idea, and the clause that follows it actually piggybacks off of that verbal idea or borrows that verbal idea syntactically. So in essence, you have a verbless clause that follows a clause with a verbal clause, and that's called a forward verbal ellipsis. And you might say, well, Mike, how did you even come to know that this was an example of forward verbal ellipsis? Well, let me show you really quickly. One of the best tools that you can use in Logos when trying to decide if this would make a good syntax search is the exegetical guide. And not just the whole exegetical guide, but one specific part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and launch an exegetical guide on Isaiah 34:13. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to simply right-click anywhere within the verse itself, and in the context menu, select Reference, so Isaiah 34:13, and then on the left-hand side, select Exegetical Guide. And this will launch an exegetical guide report on that particular verse. Now, the section of note for doing or finding information about syntactically or grammatically significant verses or constructions is the grammar section. And this is one of the primary reasons why you want to have really top-notch reference grammars in your Logos library is for this specific purpose, is to search passages and verses for exegetically significant details. So if we look at the grammar section, my favorite way to sort this is actually by resource instead of by subject. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to resource, and then I'm going to expand this to be Hebrew because I want to find out things about Hebrew in the Old Testament. Now, for syntax searching purposes, One of my favorite resources to reference is this top one, Biblical Hebrew Grammar Visualized. Now, a lot of you might not have this in your library already because it doesn't come in most of our base packages at Logos. However, this is something that you want to add to your library if you're interested in syntax of the Hebrew Old Testament. This is actually authored by the people who put together the syntax database used in Logos, Anderson and Forbes. So you're going to want to use this. This is actually a how-to, fully on, like all-in, exhaustive guide to the syntax database, the Hebrew syntax database in Logos. So let's go ahead and expand this section. And what you're going to find here in the grammar section is every place where this particular verse is referenced in all of the Hebrew grammars in our library. So since I have this Anderson Forbes grammar, it's finding the place where Isaiah 34:13 is referenced. So if I go ahead and click on Isaiah 34:13, it's going to open this grammar to the place where that verse is referenced. And notice that the reference is in the section for forward ellipsis. So this is within a larger section on ellipsis in general, but you're seeing how you're getting information here. Now, one of the great things about this grammar is that it actually shows the clause analyses of the actual verse itself, just how it would show up in the clause visualization for Anderson and Forbes. So it's showing you how these are built and kind of what's going on here. Notice that we have two clauses that are sharing the same verb in this verse. And if we scroll down just a little bit, it actually gives us a little an idea of what this even is about. So forward verb ellipsis is when the verb in the first clause does double duty, being the explicit predicator in the first clause and the elliptic predicator down in the second clause. So if we wanted to find all of the examples of this forward verb ellipsis, we could actually now have a verse where we can build a case study on this. In fact, Anderson and Forbes are telling us that there are 1,135 instances, so we can actually check our search results against what they've found in their search results to see if we're in the right place. So that's probably par excellence example of the ideal way to discover how to run syntax searches in Logos is to find a verse that you're reading, run an exegetical guide, reference the grammar section, and find out what are grammars talking about here. Is there a rule, or is there something that the grammar is saying is significant about this verse that we can then turn into a search? Now, obviously, the best way to discover if something would make a syntax search or not is to familiarize yourself with Hebrew or with Greek, because then you can find on your own patterns and constructions and repetitions and things that you may want to search on. But if you need a little help, using the grammar section in the exegetical guide and referencing your grammars, and this is a great reason to add grammars to your library, is going to be a phenomenal way to do that. Now, one last example, I want to show you one from the New Testament. So we're in the Old Testament right now. Let's go to the New Testament, and a great kind of verse that I like to run searches on, or one of the searches I've done in the past. Let's go to Matthew 28:19. So the Great Commission. You can right click in verse 19. Same process here. Select reference Matthew 28:19 exegetical guide to open a new exegetical guide. I'm going to sort by resource, open up Greek. And one of my favorite Greek grammars to use for syntax purposes is Dan Wallace's Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics. Phenomenal grammar to have. I think every Greek student should have this grammar. Once again, not one that comes typically in most base packages, so you need to add it as a separate resource, but you need to get that. And there's a section here called Attendant Circumstance. So this is a very interesting rule within the Greek New Testament that Wallace has done really great in pushing forward, where you have a participle and a main verb, but the participle doesn't exist on its own. In effect, and notice Wallace mentions this, the participle then in effect piggybacks on the mood of the main verb. And if we scroll down in this section, we actually find the rules that Wallace applies to this. So the 5 features of attendant circumstance are, and here's the 5. The tense of the participle is usually aorist, the tense of the main verb is usually aorist, so on and so forth. You can build a syntax search that fits all 5 of these criteria and find all of the examples of this within the Greek New Testament. So there's a couple of ways that you can use Logos to find exegetically significant details and things that you might want to build syntax searches upon. Once again, using the exegetical guide and the grammar section in particular will go really far in helping you in this process. Now, if you like this video, make sure that you give me a thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. You can subscribe using the button here. As always, if you want to know more about how to use logos, please in the comments let me know what you'd like to see, or if you want to see something totally unrelated to syntax, please just let me know. I'd be happy to take requests. Feel free to message me either on Twitter or on Facebook. You can find links to those on my channel. So with that said, thanks so much for tuning in today, and enjoy mining the depths of Scripture using logos. Until next time.